Hello and welcome back to MAFT UK, and welcome to what will be predominantly a end user view and description of the new self-proclaimed best bivvy on the market. Yes, I'm talking about the Trakker Tempest RS Camo 200. It's supposed to be the best there is. Is it? On this overnighter, on this very, very cold lake, I'm going to be showing you my thoughts on what I think about this bivvy, some of the pros, some of the cons that I found whilst using it. Yes, this intro is at the end because now I know I've got two sides of the coin. So let's get cracking. I will be doing some voiceovers whilst I'm putting it up. Stop you hear me breathing out my bum. There are some surprises, but yeah, it is a well worth video watching. It will show you exactly what you get for your money and whether it works or not. As you will see, I have never taken this item out of the bag ever, so I will speed some of these things up when it comes to unnecessary work, like taking this off. So I will speed it up slightly, and then we will move on to the actual erection of the bivvy. Now I've slowed it down again to show you where the bars are. A couple of things are actually hidden quite well. That is a repair kit I've just shown then, and comes with its own repair kit. So I open it up to have a look and find out where the rest of the gear is, and lo and behold, there are the tent pegs. And I've also found what I didn't know at the time, because it looks very tiny, was the ground sheet. Didn't expect it to be so compact. That is the door, so I'll just put that to one side. Now I'm going to treat this bivvy just like I would any other bivvy. I'm not going to treat it like it was gold leaf, so it gets treated with the same respect as everything else that I've got. Here we go, close up of the knuckles. There we go. That's why I've got the GoPro on my head, just to see. Now that worked absolutely fine. That was absolutely fine. That worked the treat, and I thought, good start. Now the rest of the system says place it against your chest and fan it out. Really, not with this size, because you would need to be 8 foot tall to do it that way. Look, I tried to get the fan started, put it against my chest, and nope, that's not happening. Let's give it another go. Nope. As you can see, I really did struggle to put that against my chest and lift it up. Now look how high it is. Yeah, that just isn't going to happen. You would definitely need to be 8 foot tall. So trying to figure it out. Remember, first time putting it up, not quite sure what I'm doing, although I've seen plenty of videos. I know there's a bar on top and I've got to get that bar over, and I've got to fan this thing out, and it's really heavy. It's 15 kilo just that on its own. So yeah, just cut that bit. Now then, where's the back? There we go. There's the bar over my shoulder. Oh, what's it doing all the way up there? So as you can see, this is not that easy. It's not your 7 seconds anyway. Mind you, it is a big one. So a little bit of a close-up again of the joint. There we go. Now I didn't want to overstress that bar, so you definitely got to lift the doors up, or the front two poles up high enough so you don't put that bar under too much pressure when you lock it in place. Now moving it around again. It did feel like it wanted to fall forward, so the first peg I put in was at the rear to stop it from falling forward. That seemed to work. Now I was looking for the tension strap. Nope, it's not in there. I couldn't find it anywhere near the ground sheet. So then I looked in the other bag. No, it wasn't on the bottom of the bag there either. Is it in the peg bag? Yes, there it is. There we go. So the tension strap was preset to the right distance, two carabiners either end, and then as soon as I got them in place, I just pulled the legs out to the appropriate distance. There you go. Now you don't need to put the ground sheet in if you're using the tension strap, but in this case I am going to. Now the next thing was trying to remove the little knuckles on the top, and that took ages to do, so I cut a lot of that out, but I will show you that. So I'm just pegging everything out as you would expect. Again, I've speeded it up slightly. I don't want to show it in complete real time because we'll be here a lot longer than you would think you're going to be. Ground sheet, do like the ground sheet. I love the two different materials. You've got this real shiny side on the underside, and then you've got this like a matte effect on the upper side. I like the way it clips in, and I also like the way that it fits in that bivvy. Nice, it was really good fit, and I was quite happy with that. Now you'll notice you can actually, there's enough room on the link there to put both the tension strap and the ground sheet. Not that you need to, but I did do. Alright, now for the door. Now they do say that you can put the bivvy down with the door on as long as the door is open, but don't always use a door. So whether I take it off or not at the end of the session depends really on how this thing goes together. Doesn't really take too long. I slowed the video down to real time to put the door on, just to show you that it's not really that big of a deal to put it on. It is relatively quick, and whether it means it's easier to take the door off and put the bivvy up without the door on every time, then that may be what I do. So there we go. Just got to put the front poles in. Now whether you put those in first before you put the pegs in is entirely up to you. Because I'm new to putting this bivvy up, I pegged everything out and realised then that perhaps I should have put them in first, but they went in anyway without damaging anything. They are Velcro, so you can put them on and bring the door to it and Velcro it that way. The only thing you've got to watch is, you'll see in a minute, that you can potentially pierce your bottom of your door if you're not paying attention as to where the bottom of the pole is. And you'll notice me look down and go, whoops. So there you go. Now as I rolled it up, I realised that also in the door was the plastic screen, the mozzie net and the door all combined in one. Now for the all-important skull cap. Now what they recommend that you do is you put your 3 pegs in at the front of the bivvy, you work your way around the back of the bivvy, and then you put in the Velcro tabs just 50%. So you Velcro them in 50% and then go around again after and tighten them all up. So that's exactly what I did. So they're just being loosely put on for now. And now I'll go around and tighten everything up. And technically that is the bivvie erected. Shortly after, I was walking around and this happened. Yeah, I had a rip off, but I missed it. Right, so the final look at the erected bivvie. Now, I'm going to have to say this in all honesty, the people who designed this from an aesthetic point of view nailed it. It does look an awesome bivvie. I will say that it does look good. It's got a great shape to it. I love it with the skull cap on. So from a shallow aesthetics point of view, I think they've got it absolutely right. Not really sure about being camouflaged from the car, but that certainly blends in. It's a good camo pattern. Quite like that too. Alright, so a couple of last views. Yeah, I did use a drone on this little bit. There was a lot of overhang canopy, so I couldn't go really high. But I just thought, for the sake of it, let's have a good look at this bivvie. And finally, from the inside out. A little bit shaky work, but there you go. Overall, aesthetics, really like it. And you can see why. So the sun is right in my boat race at the moment, and it's quite annoying. However, I'm not really complaining about that. Yeah, so there you go. That was me putting bivvie up for the very first time. And yes, I'd never ever practiced. I wanted to do it straight out of the bag. I wanted to see what it was like. I needed to find where things were, and now you know as well as I do. Yeah, it's still quite a bugger to put up on your own. That's something that big. Yes, it is. I can imagine the smaller ones being a lot easier, understandably so. That is the biggest that they do. At this moment in time, everything I've seen about the bivvie I really like. I love the ground sheet. I love the way the ground sheet's designed, whether it delaminates at all, because it's two separate surfaces to it. So you've got the shiny underside, and then you've got like a more softer, more matte feel to the top of it. How long that lasts, or whether it starts to delaminate, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I do like the ground sheet. I like the way the bivvie goes together. I like the way it also, the ground sheet fits in really well. I like the clips, easy to get to, easy to clip in. I'm going to discuss a lot of other stuff later on, especially when it comes to other accessories that you can get, like the full mozzie net door. I'm going to discuss the inner capsule that you can get as well, whether I feel that would be necessary at all. So there's lots to talk about. There are lots to talk about. The skull cap, I do have quite a soft spot for the skull cap. I do like how it goes on. I love the fact that it gives you a porch. I do enjoy bivvies with a porch. The little extension probably gives you another 6 or 7 inch over the existing porch that you get. So I can see the benefits of the skull cap. As for condensation, that type of material, regardless of who you are, where you are, what you do, whether you're camping in the mountains or in the valleys or wherever, or whatever tent or whatever you've got, condensation is something that you're going to have to deal with always. Certain times of year, condensation can be really bad, and that is no different. Despite what anybody tells you, that type of material, you are going to get condensation regardless. And how you deal with that is entirely up to you. But that's just a fact of camping. Some of the best tents in the world, which these bivvies now are moving to more like tents than they are bivvies. I mean, the old style of bivvie is hanging on by the skin of its teeth, but they all get condensation, and that's no different. So there you go. So whether your inner capsule makes a difference or whether the skull cap makes a difference, theoretically, yes, I can see it should do, but how much of a difference, proof is in the pudding. Technically, on a frosty day like today, like I said earlier, the temperature is currently around about 0. It was -3 when I turned up this morning. It's now about 1 o'clock. I didn't start fishing till 12 o'clock, which I'm not supposed to. So that's what I did. I just spent the time putting up the bivvie, getting a bit of drone footage, having a walk around. I spent the time this morning looking for any signs of any fish. I didn't really see any, but a really good sign was within 2 minutes of me putting my left hand rod in, there was action. So that's a good sign for me. So have I chosen the right spot? We'll see. Other stuff I'm going to look at will be my cold weather wellies. I've got some neoprene wellies. Already I can feel the benefits of having them with me right now. I do not have cold feet. I've also got the bivvie slippers. Now, why have I got bivvie slippers? Purely and simply, if you're going to put your feet in Wellington boots for the day, no matter what happens, neoprene wellies or not, they are going to sweat some, and they are going to get moisture in your welly boot. So of an evening, you want to take your welly off and you want to put something warm on. And I had a look. Well, I didn't have a look. I actually mentioned it to my better half, and she bought me some for Christmas. So I've tried them. They fit really well, and I've got wide feet, so they also fit for wide feet. I'll explain a little bit more, and I'll show you a little bit more later when the sun's not blaring in my face. And yeah, you can have a look at them too. I think the combination, yes, it should work. Can't see why it wouldn't. They do have soles on the bottom so you can actually leave your bivvy, the comfort of your bivvy, with them on should you wish to. However, Wellington boots are so quick to put on anyway, I would probably just throw my wellies on. That's what I would probably do. So we'll see how much of a panic I'm in and what sort of run that I get. So there we are. In the meantime, I'm going to sit here with a brew and just enjoy the sun blaring down in my face while I can, because it ain't going to last for much longer. It will get cold later. I do have plenty of warm gear. I even have my heater with me. So when we've had a look in the inside of the bivvy later, I will have battened down the hatches, and later on tonight I'll get the heater on. We'll be nice and warm, and we can talk about other stuff. And I can talk about the bivvy in more detail. So let's have a look at the inside of the bivvy. Now, obviously with the light that we've got going on, all you're getting is a lot of dark silhouettes, but you can make out the pocket there. There's a pocket over there. One there. One there. And all the windows. And you will also see the little hangers for the inner capsule. Now, unfortunately, quite disappointingly, that would have been great if that had been a little hook there to hang a light from, but it's not. It's just a tab for the toggle to go through when you hang your inner capsule. Now, room wise, there is stacks of room. It is huge. This bivvy is bleeding huge. This is the first time that I will confidently say you could get 2 bed chairs in here easy, absolutely easy. And me being the type of person that is a social fisherman, not tonight obviously, there could quite easily be another 2 chairs in here. Andy and Dave or Chris or any of my mates could easily get in here in bad weather, and the door is what, 4 feet away from me. It's huge. It's huge. And I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it. I must admit, I'm holding the camera by hand just so that you can get a little bit more of a real-time view. But there is absolutely stacks of room. Bearing in mind, I'm also sat on a wide bed. So that is the wider bed. And there was room at the back. There was room at the feet. There's ample room for a big chair. And I mean big chair, even a moon chair could fit in here. And there, I mean, that is just, I'm just trying to see if I can get this into perspective. It's huge. I am 6 foot. I can't stand up directly, but it is even bigger than the Avid HQ by far. And the sides being as vertical as they are, that makes all the difference as well. I know you've seen all this stuff before. You've seen it on the adverts for the bivvy, but only from people that are selling it you, not from people that are using it. One of the things I find a little bit disappointing is That's the little tog on an elastic, as opposed to the clips. I would much prefer to have seen the clips, but we all know what happens to that elastic after a bit of time. It all stretches, elastic goes out of them, but that's after a bit of time. Normally, that indulgence chair in the Avid HQ, although it would fit in, you didn't have a lot of room. Once you sat in your chair, it started pushing you towards the front of the bivvie. But I can put that indulgence chair in there, no problem whatsoever. Have it, and literally have it tight to the back of the wall and sit up straight. Now I know it's just out of the bag, and I know it's only the first time that I've used it, but it really seriously is ticking all the boxes from my point of view. If you had the smaller version, the 150 or the 100, obviously there's different size heights and everything else, but that ticks all my boxes and I'm liking it. I really am. I really hope that it lasts. Now there's probably that skull cap, and we'll probably need treating at some point in a few years. You probably be able to use some Feb seal or something like that to make sure the UV rays don't damage it in the sun. One of the things that I will say about this is that once you close all those windows, it is dark in there. I'm not necessarily bothered about it having a blackout on the inside. If I'm tired, I sleep, whether it's daylight or not. It makes no difference to me. So I don't necessarily need the blackout screens, but if you are in there during the day and it is pouring down, then you are going to need light to see what you're doing, because you're just not going to be able to see in there. Even though it's got a plastic door, see-through door, it still won't let enough light in for you to do what you're doing. So you would definitely need light pretty much most of the time if you're working inside that bivvy, maybe even your head torch. Especially if it's driving into you and you got the letterbox going. Yeah, so that's one downside. The toggles I don't like that either. Is it worth the money I paid for it? I'm gonna have to say no. That's a lot of money, but I retired my Avid HQ and I needed something bigger, or if not equally as big, and that at this moment in time, yeah. What I'd like to have seen was taken from the Avid HQ, where you can leave your inner in, which doesn't have a sewn in ground sheet. So if the inner was fixed to the walls only and not the ground sheet, I think that would make it far superior. But they do this inner capsule thing, which means that you're completely concealed within your It's a complete capsule which you either take out or leave in every time you go fishing, and I think that's a bit of a buggerance. In a bivvy that big, leaving you in a capsule and putting it away would probably be a nightmare. Probably, I don't know. I can't use it on 90% of the swims up here because it's just far too big. But when I go down to places like Baden Hall or other big fisheries, then there are swims that can accommodate that, no problem at all. Well, I am here to do some fishing regardless, so let's get on with some fishing and we'll get back to the bivvy, especially when it comes to taking it down later on. Here we go. There's a lot of weed out here, but I'll explain a little bit later when I made a brew as to why I've chosen this side again and not the island side. Oh yeah, just had another liner on my left hand rod, and shortly afterwards I seen fish on the surface of the water just in front of me, literally in 2 rods out, no further than that. So fingers crossed with that one. I'm not going to put any more bait out, I don't want to do that, it's far too cold. It is actually freezing now, it's back down to at least -1 because any water I spill or anything like that starts to freeze, so it is quite cold. But my tootsies are nice and warm, and the sun has now gone over the horizon, so the temperature's only going to start to get even colder. Got the place to myself, unsurprisingly. Right, so the reason I chose this side as opposed to the other, didn't see any movement of fish. Last time I was here, I pulled out 3 fish, missed one, from over my left hand side over by the feeder, but it's quite shallow. And it is also quite shallow right here in front of me as well. A lot of weed this time, a lot of weed. But over to my right, where I've put my right hand rod, is deeper water. So I've put one into the deeper water as best I can. It's very difficult to cast here. There's a little tree to my left, and there's an overhang to my right. So it's very difficult to get to. I didn't bring my bait boat. You can use a bait boat here, but I didn't bring it. I didn't see the necessity of that. But I managed to get into the places that I want to be. Now, if my left-hand rod goes again, I don't get anything in the next few hours on my right-hand rod, I may just bring my right-hand rod back in and also put that in the middle. Or I may flip over and put one over by the feeder. Now, I haven't heard the feeder go off. I don't know if they're feeding the fish at this time of year or not. I couldn't tell you. I know the last time I was here, the feeder went off, but nothing came out of it. But that was summer, or at least a few months ago. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm just going to leave the positions as they are. My left-hand rod is definitely staying where it is because that's where I've had more action than anything. But my right-hand rod either comes out of the deeper water and goes over by the feeder. I don't know yet. I don't know how I'm going to pan it out. I don't know how I'm going to play it. Whatever I do, it'll have to be in the dark, but that's not a problem. I just had a quick recce. I can actually cast across over to there as before. I just need to stand next to that tree and perhaps kneel down to do it. Whilst I was lying in my pit, I did hear a fish bosh. But it was more, I'm sure that was behind me as opposed to in front of me, because I didn't see anything, just heard it. But I've kept my eye on the lake behind me, see if I've seen any movement, because for me to pick that pod up and then just put it on the other swim, I can do that too, because there's no one else here. So if there was a lot of action going on behind me, I could quite easily fish that peg. Even though my bivvies in this one it's literally just a few meters away, so it wouldn't really be a drama. Yeah, it was toasty warm in that bivvy. That bed is awesome. Because it's wider for the bigger chap, just awesome. Now I just had a look for my rake, because there's so much weed down here. I would have raked a spot right out in front of me. Even though I'm only here for a short amount of time, I don't think it would have spooked the fish to the point where they wouldn't come back. I think they would always come back here. Definitely through that middle bit. So I was going to do that, but I just don't have it. I was hoping it was in my big tackle bag, but I think I may have moved it to my smaller one. But there you go. But yeah, but I would have raked, because there is quite a lot of weed, and in the past, raking out has worked quite successfully well, relatively well for me, so I would have done that again, even if it is winter. If there's a lot of weed down there's a lot of weed, and nothing I can do about that. I know when I was leading earlier, I did find a couple of spots, so it's not all weed, it's like bands of it, so as you're bringing in, you suddenly hit into it again, and as long as you get beyond it, you're okay. Well, the rods have been in for 4 hours now. It was the time where I was it's just coming up 4 o'clock, so I'm gonna lose the light soon. So when the light goes, completely. I'm just going to zip myself in and get the heater on. Big wuss. Well, I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. Thank you for everybody who stays with the channel and sticks with the channel and comments. I really enjoy the comments. You'll notice that I answer all of them now, as opposed to last year, year before, I sort of died off answering the comments. But yeah, I do answer the comments now, and thank you for all your new subscribers as well. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now. You never know what you're going to miss. Now that the frosty mornings have come in, I'm going to get my rifle out soon, come back up to the Lake District. I've got some land up here I can shoot on legally. So I'm going to come up and do a bit of that as well. Camping with guns. I haven't done it for quite a while, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. Even if it's just going up and blotting a few paper targets, that's what I'm going to do. It got feeder. And it's throwing bait out. So the feeder went off just after 4 o'clock, and I could see the bait going out. I'm going to get my rod on that. Flip my rods, like I said I might do, now that I know that the feeder is working and that it's put bait out. So I've put my baits over there, and then I've just thrown 2 small pouches of pellets on top of it as well. So if it's still feeding, then the carp still may be going for it. Just losing the light. Won't see it in this camera. This camera shows like it's still daylight, but it's not. Trust me, the light is going. I think it's also time for dinner, so I'll get dinner on the go as well. Well, I'm all cooped up in my bivvy now. It is getting cold out there. Chances are the tarn could even freeze over tonight, so I'll have to keep my eye on it. If it looks like it's going to, or it starts to, then I'll probably just put some bat leads right underneath my rod tips, so I can always get me baits out if it does freeze over. But yeah, it is starting to get really cold. But the heater's working a treat. This is because it's only the single layer. It's nowhere near as warm as the Avid HQ, and purely because of the size as well. But it is making a massive difference. It's certainly a few more degrees warmer in here than it is out there, despite having to have ventilation. I said last year that you can't have a heater on in your bivvy and not have ventilation, so you've got to let oxygen in. So I've got one of the vents on the side opened up, and I've got a big hole there so that the fumes can get out. Oh yes, thank goodness for slippers. My wellies, they are bison, and they're 10mm neoprene. They're like a winter boot. They're not like a muck boot, anything like that, but they are quite warm, and I've not had any cold feet all day. But you've got to take them off at some point, otherwise too much moisture will build up and then you'll start to get cold feet. So that's how it pans out. Time to change over my gas on my heater. So my heater, you will notice that my 2 gas canisters are close to the front. They're not in any danger of exploding due to getting too warm, but the trouble is with this type of heater, because the gas isn't very efficient in the cold, that if you let it get, the reason the light's flashing is because it's sensitive to light, so it picks up the light from there. See how it flashes? Bit annoying. I can turn it off. I'll have to figure out how to do that. Yeah, so if you keep your gas warm, you can rotate your gas, because once it gets below a certain temperature, it starts to not work so effectively. So it's a bit of a pain, but it does work. And that's my ventilation there, so you can see big gaping hole. Have a better look at them slippers. They're quite nice. Yeah, relatively warm. Well, I haven't got cold feet anyway, and it's -3 out there at the moment. Good morning. Would the inner capsule have made me warmer last night? Yes, 100%. That is a big bivvy. My little stove, or my little heater in there, was struggling to keep it warm. And I literally had to sit on top of it to try and stay warm while I was trying to go through anything on my phone, because the signal drops and comes back here. Would I get the inner capsule? Now, before yesterday, I said no. But if I was to continue fishing in colder weather like I did last night, would it be worth having it in a capsule in? Yes, it would. Now the full Mozzie front door, would I get that? Now having a look yesterday at everything peeled back, including the door with the Mozzie net, you've got quite a bit of airflow through the bivvy already, with the windows open, the side windows of the front panel rolled back, the door with everything rolled back. You've got an awful lot of ventilation going through. The only benefit you would have would be the magnetic closing device behind it, which is, again, I think a bit more gimmicky. I know it works, I can see it works. So personally, I would not get the insect mesh cover. I would think about the full inner purely for a warmth point of view with a heater on, not necessarily for the insects. That don't think that bothers me. I really like the ground sheet, and I really like how the bivvy goes up, although as you've seen on your own, that is still a beast to put up on your own. And the videos where they show you just panning it out 7 seconds and then ta-da, that's fine for the smaller ones, but not for that one, especially the first time you do it. So definitely, yes, it's a good idea. Yes, the proof will be in the pudding when I pack everything away, but I do like it. Am I pleased I bought it? It's a lot of money, and that doesn't do anything that other bivvies do at half the price. It's got some tricky little gimmicks on it, and it's got some tricky little accessories to it, but it doesn't do anything different than any other bivvy. So I can't say it's worth the money. All I can say is I like it. So there you go. There's my little waffle. I should concentrate on my fishing more, but in all honesty, I wanted to come out and try the bivvy. I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to see if I've got my money's worth. So this is what I was saying earlier. You have mesh door and a mesh window, and you've lost 7, maybe 8 inches there and 7-8 inches there, but the rest of it is Mozzie mesh, and with the side windows all pulled back as well, that's quite a lot of ventilation getting through. So do you need a separate insect door? Looking at that, you don't. The only problem you've got is that you must remove the plastic sheet if this is the combination that you want, because for some reason you can secure the outer door, but you can't secure, there's no toggles on the inside to secure the plastic screen, so you would have to completely remove that. But I think that's a bit of a letdown for Trakker. If there had been a toggle underneath there to roll this up with the door, you'd have had all combinations available to you on one hit, but you don't, because there's no way to secure the plastic. It's either in or it's out, which is a bit of a shame. So here we go, let's take this thing down. Always remember to empty the pockets on the inside first. Do not leave your keys in it, because you will be sick. Well, to remove the panting and puffing that I would be doing whilst I'm taking this down, I just thought I would do a voiceover. Obviously the ground sheet came out relatively easy, put it to one side, start drying it best I can. Now I decided to take the door off, because I am going to work on that and take that plastic viewing screen out at a later date. So everything's relatively straightforward, nothing you haven't seen before. Pegs out. Now we come to collapse the actual bivvy itself. Once I've checked, here we go. Yeah, that's fine. Now then, this is a bit where I struggled. This is, you're supposed to push with your thumb, and you can see the first one went all right, but the second one, I just didn't have the strength to do it. Now, I guess what I should have done there is rest the front of the bars on the ground to take the pressure off the knuckle. So I was fighting against the weight, so there was a lot of pressure on there. So what I did wrong here was I did not rest the knuckle or the left hand side of what you're looking at now on the ground. If I'd have left it, I probably could have done it one-handed, but I ended up having to use two hands to do it. And that's down to user error, probably not the bivvie's fault. But in fact, I would say it's not the bivvie's fault, it's mine. So I struggled a bit there, as you can see. In theory it would work, but in practicality it wasn't working for me because I was doing something wrong. Now, two-hand job. But I did eventually get them apart. So there we go. Yeah, user error I think there. As for the rest, this is the easy bit. Yeah, just put it together. I left the retaining strap or tension strap on because of a standard, using it to wrap up the bivvie as you would normally do, and I did nothing different. That's exactly what I did. Wow. And there we go. Now, getting things back in the bag probably can be done, but you can see why they've made that bag so much bigger, because you don't have to. I like that. That's as long as you don't forget your skull cap. Now it's all packed away. So that was it. That was packing it down. Is it any quicker? Well, I get the videos where matey pushes it with his thumb and unlocks it and it folds, but with a bivvie that heavy, the pressure on those joints is a lot more. So for you to try and push it with your thumb, with the weight of the bivvie on it, no, that's not going to happen. So it's a bit of a two-hand job, but it still goes away, folds like that relatively quick, and yes, I do like that. As for saving me time packing things away, when you're taking everything else into consideration, I can't see there being a lot more in it. So from a time point of view, that isn't really super duper. So that's the first time putting up and the first time taking it down. So there's a technique that you're going to need to learn with it. Fortunately, I packed it away like most of us do when we need to still dry the kit. There's no point spending a lot of time folding it to get it back into the bag and then go home and take it all back out again, because that needs drying. So I call that a battle pack, an old military term when we just used to stuff things in the bag just to get the hell out of there quick. So I've battle packed that. It fits in the bag relatively well. There's plenty of room in there still. I'm happy with that because 99.9% of the time, that's exactly how that's going to go away from me. You may be one of those guys that folds it away immaculately every single time, and that's perfectly fine. I am not cribbing it. I'm just saying that that is how I would normally do it anyway, because 9 times out of 10, I'm cleaning it or I'm doing something, messing with it after. So there we go. Overall, that bivvie, which is what this video is about really, I quite like it. I like the bag. I like how it goes up. I like how it fits together relatively well. I don't have many complaints. The ones I don't like, I've already mentioned. I will be taking out the plastic screen so as I can either have the full door or the mesh. If the rain is driving towards me, I'll use the letterbox system anyway. So there we go. It was dark in there. It is dark. This morning when I got up, I couldn't have told you whether the sun was out or not. It was completely, the only way I knew was by sitting up slightly and looking at the ventilation that I left open last night to see if I could see light outside, and that was the only way I could do that, and that took for me to sit up to do. So yeah, you really don't know whether it's daylight or not. You genuinely don't. Now, some people, you might find that really good. It's irrelevant to me. If I want to sleep, I sleep. It's as simple as that, whether it's daylight or not. It doesn't keep me awake, but some people it does. So I'm not, yeah, that's nothing, that doesn't mean anything to me. It just means that I don't know what the time is. I don't know whether it's daylight or night time when I wake up. Right, what time is it now? Half one. So another hour and a half and I'll bug out. That gives me time to get home, get to the garage, open everything up and spread everything out so it dries over the next few days, all left alone. And I don't have to either, just leave it and dry naturally. I might make myself another brew. I just had a liner on my right hand rod, but nothing doing yet. I'd be surprised if I pulled one out of here today anyhow, with the temperatures being what they are. So there you go. This was a very long video, coming up to nearly 50 minutes of footage on a individual bivvie, and that seems an awful lot, but you have to bear in mind, I said at the start, this is a in-depth point of view, and if you've skipped forward or you've skipped a bit, you may have missed some important information. So I suggest you go back and have a look. Waffle is waffle, but most of it is important and relates to the bivvie itself and my thoughts and its general uses. Overall, thank you very much for joining me. I really do hope you found that useful. If you did and you really wanted to have a proper look at this bivvie, now you would have done. Give me at least a thumbs up, or at least say thank you in the comments as well. I would appreciate that, to say that you've watched it and you thought it was useful or not. Remember, these are my opinions and my opinions only, and don't necessarily reflect the company of Trakker itself, which I have absolutely nothing to do with. Until then, see you next time, and thank you for joining me. Bye bye.